Jeff Colgan, a professor at American University here in Washington, D.C., says it was King Abdulaziz Al Saud who set the kingdom on a path that largely defines it today, as the world's biggest oil exporter and one of America's closest allies in the Middle East.
His first major impact was really founding the state and creating it as a modern polity. But the development of the oil industry was something that he certainly fostered, allowed, and took advantage of as the oil revenues continued to increase during his reign. And then the second impact, I would say, is his establishment, his choice really to make the relationship between the United States of America and Saudi Arabia key to his foreign policy.
King Abdulaziz also made a strategic decision. He chose America as the country's main ally, says Jim Phillips, a researcher at the Conservative Heritage Foundation.
I think he charted a course for Saudi Arabia, reaching out to form an alliance with the United States against the Soviet Union, and later Saudi Arabia developed into an important ally against Iran and radical socialist forces elsewhere. He was a traditional leader and tried to unify the kingdom along religious lines. He did permit modernization and development, especially of the oil industry, which is, I think, one of the strong pillars of Saudi influence in the world today.
At the time Abdulaziz was conquering the Arabian Peninsula and forging it into one country in the early 20th century, no one knew of the unbelievable oil wealth beneath its dry sands.
When Abdulaziz first asked the various oil companies to look into the prospects for oil, he was also very interested in looking for water. Right, and what he really wanted was greater access to water in the desert, which of course was a key commodity. And instead they found oil, but rather than turn away from that, he saw the potential in it, and he chose to continue the development of the industry. I guess the other really key choice was the development of Aramco, which later became Saudi Aramco.
King Abdulaziz was both committed to his country's conservative religious traditions and at the same time a modernizer. For example, he introduced radio into the country over the objections of more conservative voices.
Well, I think he did set a precedent for breaking with some of the more radical Islamist elements when he broke with the Ikhwan. And I think that may provide a blueprint in the future for Saudi's future evolution. But it's, I think each generation of leaders has to find its own way, but I think certainly he blazed a trail that many still follow.
American University's Jeff Colgan says King Abdulaziz saw how other powers, especially Great Britain and France, were meddling in the affairs of other Middle East countries, and he wanted a more distant ally.
I think he chose the United States for a couple of reasons. One was that he had some admiration for the country and its place in the world as kind of coming up. But the second, I think, was more pragmatic choice in that he wanted to have a foreign partner that was not too close, right? And so Europe and Britain were geographically much closer, and their territories, their empire was all around Saudi Arabia, whereas having the United States would be a friend to Saudi Arabia, but not overbearing on Saudi Arabia, I think was very important to Abdulaziz.
Scholars say King Abdulaziz's policy set the path the country has remained on up to today. America typically views King Abdulaziz Al Saud in a very positive light. Not only did he unite the diverse tribes of Arabia into one country, he presided over the opening of the all-important oil industry, setting the country on a path of rapid modernization. And he chose America as the kingdom's strategic ally. Burton Bolag, KSA2, Washington.